All right, folks, much to my delight, and I imagine the delight of Democrats and leftists and liberals across the country, President Biden is, with increasing frequency, embracing the dark brand and persona. And in this fun little story, it's in the form of stickers and signs, believe it or not. But before we unpack all that, if you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and the alert bell. Maybe check out my Patreon. I'd appreciate the support. So what am I talking about? Well, you all may recall that when President Biden was inaugurated and he presided over the wildly successful vaccination rollout, it allowed the United States to safely open back up. And thus, the demand for travel and things like that increased, whereas the supply of gasoline remained low during COVID, and in large part because Donald Trump in 2018 arranged a deal with Saudi producers to basically cut oil reserves, to cut oil production in order to help their bottom line. And all of this hit in a perfect storm when you combine that with COVID. Gas prices accelerated when demand for gas opened back up, but the supply remained low. And during that time, Republicans across the country blamed Joe Biden, like there was some sort of high gas price lever and Joe Biden was just nefariously tugging it. Like, number one, like that lever exists, and number two, why would Joe Biden pull that lever if it does exist? Because all it would do would hurt him politically. Made absolutely no sense whatsoever. But when that happened, we started to see across the country these stickers of Joe Biden going, "I did that," and people would, facetiously stick them to gas pumps across the country as if to say Joe Biden was responsible for high gas prices. By the way, those people don't do that now that gas prices have been steadily declining. We don't see conservatives going around the country saying, yeah, I guess Joe Biden was responsible for high gas prices, which means he's also responsible for low gas prices. It's completely hypocritical. But those stickers were incredibly popular. Now that the 2024 election cycle is coming up, it seems that Dark Brandon is looking to weaponize that sort of energy for his own benefit. It's really good. As his tweet points out, at White House is adding signs to all of President Biden's infrastructure products that credit him in response to Republicans trying to take credit across the country for projects they all voted against. Love this. That's all me. I did that. Project funded by President Joe Biden's Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. Folks, I love this energy. This is so cool. So, CNN has an article about it, and it asks the rhetorical question. It says, listen, Biden is putting his name on economic progress, but will voters just drive right by? This is a problem that President Biden and Democrats have, which is the decades-long baked-in perception that the Republican Party is better on economic matters, that they are better stewards of the economy. Now, as we discuss on this channel, the facts don't bear that out. The facts show that the Democratic Party and Democratic leadership is much better, generally speaking, for the economy, or at least a strong economy is correlated with Democratic leadership. They're better on jobs numbers, unemployment rates, average GDP growth, average stock performance, stock peak, things like that. But the perception is contrary. And much of that is because, number one, Republicans have for years had, much better message discipline when it comes to the economy. Number two, Democrats have had much weaker message discipline when it comes to the economy. They've been focusing on other important issues as well. And number three, I think there's this attitude that facts speak for themselves when in fact they don't, right? A persuasive lie is going to be infinitely more impactful than an unspoken truth. Okay, so even though President Biden has presided over a generally very strong economic recovery, not to diminish the legitimate economic anxieties that still plague some Americans across this country, generally speaking, by every objective metric, the Biden economy is stronger than a lot of people want to give it credit for. So the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law is, a huge driver of this. The number of jobs that it's created, construction and maintenance, the fact that much of the construction is mandating that the supplies being used be made in America. So it's really, really good, and it's helped driving the strong economic recovery. President Biden is doing the right thing. He's taken a bold stance by taking credit for it, because even though it was bipartisan, it was only barely bipartisan in the sense that very few Republicans actually supported it. And as we discussed in previous videos, there are numerous Republicans across this country, Republican politicians taking credit for the dispensation of funds and resources from the bipartisan infrastructure bill, even though they not only didn't vote for it, they actively opposed it. We've discussed this in previous videos. It's cynical, it's disgusting, it's dishonest, which is, those characteristics of the modern day GOP. So President Biden is right to take credit for this. Listen, the economic recovery, that is because of Democrats, that's because of Biden's agenda, it's because of a few Republicans who have managed to find the integrity and the strength to back, at least at certain points, initiatives that have been led by the Biden administration. So anyway, I love this energy. I love the fact that the White House is stepping up its game to make sure that they do their part to indicate to the American people who gets credit for the things that are materially impacting the American people for the better.